Here is class number 3 on having a kosher and a happy Pesach this year. Like we said before, the Jewish people are very special because God personally chose them and He took them out of Egypt and He gave them His Torah. And we celebrate this every year. Every year for 3,332 years, we Jewish people have been celebrating this amazing, amazing event. And the way we celebrate it is according to the Torah. The Torah has a commandment that we should celebrate the day of Passover, especially the night of Passover. And beside the holiday being 7 days long outside of Israel, they added on another day, which we'll talk about why. But the first night, that's the big night. The first night of Passover, we do something like what they did back then on the first night of Passover and what the Jewish people have been doing ever since. And nowadays, we don't have a Paschal lamb. We don't take any sacrifices anymore. We don't make any sacrifices. Back then, they used to sacrifice until the second temple was destroyed. They would take a sheep or a goat, and they would slaughter it in the daytime right before the Passover came in. You know, in Jewish holidays, they start in the nighttime. And then the whole family would get together, they would eat it, and they would have matzah, and they would have bitter herbs, and they would relate the story of going out of Egypt. And we'll talk about all those things soon. But first of all, let's just a little bit about the idea of what is a mitzvah, a commandment. The Jewish people received the first commandment the Jewish people actually did as a Jewish nation was eating this matzah, sacrificing the lamb and eating with it matzah. Like I said, we don't have the lamb anymore. So what we do have is the first commandment the Jews ever did, which is eating matzah. Now the whole idea of a commandment, all the commandments, there are 248 positive commandments. A lot of them can only be done when there's a third temple. That's why we're all praying that the Mashiach will build the third temple, and then all the Jews, because everyone will want to do a commandment, they'll all come to Israel to do the maximum number of commandments. What is a commandment? A commandment is a connection. The word for commandment in Hebrew is mitzvah, and it comes from the Hebrew word tzavta, like a tzevet, tzavta v'chibur. It means joining. When you do a commandment, when a Jew does a commandment, he actually joins the creation with the Creator. According to Judaism, God is creating the world all the time. That's pretty amazing. But even more amazing is why He's creating the world. And that why is revealed every time a Jew does a commandment. The idea is to bring godliness into the physical world. And like I mentioned before, you know, in Judaism we have this holiday of going out of Egypt. But why don't we have a holiday of when the Jews went into Israel? The fact is, they went into Israel, it was the 10th day of Nisan, 40 days after they got out of Egypt. Why don't we have a holiday that? So the Rebbe said, because every time a Jew does a commandment that is celebrating, that celebrates the Jews going into Israel, because the whole idea of the commandments is to bring God into the physical world. So that's what we do when we eat the matzah. Now it says matzah is the food of faith, and it is the food of healing. So on this night, there's a revelation of godliness in the world. It's not like there's big lights or blue, the whole world turns blue or everything just stops or freezes or becomes transparent. What it means is that there's more meaning in the world. And we'll talk about this, what it means when the Creator is revealed in the creation. But just to know, it's like a child when he knows his parents are there. So he feels more comforted and he feels more at ease. And he also feels empowered to do more. And that's what the Jewish people are here, to make this world a better place. Okay, but in order to eat this matzah and get this pure revelation and connection with God, you got to make some preparations. There's also in the Torah what we call negative commandments, things you're not allowed to do. And one of these negative commandments, and in fact the first one that was given to the Jewish people, was don't eat chametz. And don't even own chametz, bal yirah, bal yamotze. You're not allowed to even own chametz. If you live in one place and you have a chametz in the other side of the world, you have to get rid of that chametz somehow or other. And we talked about that last time, that there are 4 ways to get rid of this chametz. Now again, what is chametz? Chametz is anytime you have flour of any, ground up wheat or barley, and water comes on it, and nobody takes care that is not worked on all the time, that is chametz. That's called chametz. Water and flour that is unattended, that's it, chametz. So anything that you have a chance, maybe that ingredient is there, you have to get rid of it before Passover comes in. In fact, you have to get rid of it, 7 hours before Passover comes in. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's first of all go through the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan. First of all, we make the blessing of the trees. Did we talk about this? Making the blessing on the trees. On Nisan, there is a commandment. A commandment is a custom to make a blessing on the trees. New trees. It has to be a tree that has a fruit tree that has flowers, and it's better if there's 2. And the blessing that you make is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam Shelo Chaser V'Olamo Klum. Here it is, that nothing is lacking from your world. Ubora Bo, and you created in the world Briot Tovot, good creations, Ve'Elana Tovot, and good trees. Lehanat Bnei Adam, that people should get pleasure from these trees. Make a blessing. It says that there are sometimes there's reincarnated souls in these trees. There's sparks of holiness in these trees. I don't understand it, but that's people who do understand it say that this is what there is. So make that blessing on the trees. When you make a blessing on something, you also wake up the holiness. And it is also a commandment to make 100 blessings every day, if you can, but at least make 1. So a blessing also wakes up the holiness and the godliness inside. Now the whole month of the month of Nisan, especially they're getting closer and closer to Passover, you gotta get rid of the chametz which is in your house. You have to get rid of. There's basically 3 ways of getting rid of the chametz in your house. 3 ways. 3 types of washing. You can wash, scrub, cold water, wash the drain boards, wash the floors, wash your clothes, the pockets, any place that might come in chametz. Wash your car, the seats on your car. Get rid of chametz, because the law is if there's even a little bit of chametz, if you, God forbid, eat it, it's a transgression from the Torah. And if there is a small amount of chametz, let's say a kazayat of chametz, in your house, you don't even eat it, but it's yours, then you've transgressed from the Torah. You've transgressed also from the Torah. Bal Yirah, you're not allowed to see it. There's a story about a Jewish man who had a big beer factory, and he forgot to sell it, or he thought it had been sold. And it came a couple of hours before Passover. He just gave it all away, gave everything away, or he spilled it all out. We'll talk about that, selling your chametz. Let's go step by step. Cleaning your house. If you have any chametz, any chance that there are vessels that were used with chametz, you have to wash them off very well. If the taste of this chametz is in the food, that is in the plates, then it depends. If it got in there, if it's a thing that's usually used by boiling in water, hot water, then you have to boil the vessels again until it's called machshir the kalim. And if it was done, if the vessel swallowed up by means of fire, like a frying pan or something like that, or a roasting iron, then if you put bread on there or whatever, then you have to put it into fire, white fire, called machshir the bezit. All these things that I'm telling you are just points that you should go and ask your rabbi about. Okay, then that's called cleaning the chametz, getting rid of the chametz as much as you can. The day before Passover, this year Passover comes on Wednesday, right? Wednesday night. Wednesday night is Passover. Wednesday night is Passover. Well, Wednesday in the day. Wednesday night is Passover. Wednesday in the day, you have to stop eating chametz in the daytime, 8 hours before Passover. How does that work? what time is noon by you? Usually it's 12 o'clock, something like that. Maybe they change the clocks, 12:30. But let's suppose it's 12 o'clock. Good. So it's 12 o'clock. Well, you have to stop eating chametz at 10 o'clock. And you can't get any pleasure. You can still get pleasure from it. Like you can sell it to somebody or someone. You can. At 11 o'clock, you have to stop getting pleasure from it. In other words, 8 hours before Passover, you have to stop eating chametz. It's forbidden to eat Passover. And you shouldn't wait until the last moment. It shouldn't be 8 hours. That's really pressing it. They said that the father of the previous Rebbe told him that 45 minutes before the appointed time, you should stop eating chametz. So if it's 10 o'clock is the last time, then 9:15, you should try to stop. It might be a little bit later by you. Like sometimes if noon is 12:30, then you have to stop eating by 11:30. And then you have to stop getting pleasure. I'm sorry, from 11:30, and you have to stop eating at 10:30. So you should do it a half an hour before that, whatever, because it can't be stressed enough. Eating a little tiny bit, God forbid, of chametz, even if a little tiny speck of chametz gets mixed up in a huge vat of cholent that you're making for the whole Israeli army, right? All of the cholent is forbidden. There's 1,000,000 times as much cholent as there is chametz. The whole thing is forbidden, and it's forbidden from the Torah. So it's very, very careful. You have to be very, very careful on Passover not to let any chametz come into your mouth. Therefore, there's a bit of a problem with medicine. You're taking medicine, you have to ask a rabbi which medicines are permissible. It depends on what you need the medicine for. If it's a life-saving medicine, if there's nothing that you can exchange it with, no other type of medicine that does the same thing, you have to consult your doctor and you have to consult your rabbi. Medicine. Same thing, you have another problem with children, giving children to eat. Same thing if you have pets, giving your pets to eat. You cannot give your pets to eat anything that has chametz. You're not allowed to get pleasure from chametz. You're not allowed to own it. It's not allowed to be in your house. You're not allowed to hold it in your possession whatsoever. Now, before the 11th, this time that it's forbidden to get pleasure from chametz, which we said is 7 hours before Passover comes in, before that time, you have to sell your chametz. And of course, you have to sell it way before that, so that the rabbi has time, because the rabbi will take the chametz that you sell to him, and he will sell it to a non-Jew, so that he can get it back after the Passover. And then also before this time comes, you have to burn the chametz that you have. If you have any in your house, you have to burn it. So let's take this step by step. The night, Tuesday night, you have to do there's a ritual which is called bedikat chametz. Bedikat chametz. You take 10 pieces of bread, wrap them up in something that's flammable. All the pieces together should be at least, let's say, the size of 1 piece of bread, 2 pieces of bread, 10 pieces. Scatter them around your house. Write down on a piece of paper. Somebody should write down where they are so you remember where they are. And then you take a candle, you take a feather, you take a spoon. This is just part of the Jewish ritual the Jews have been doing for thousands of years. And you make a blessing. Gather your whole family around. Make a blessing. Al bir chametz. Al bir chametz. And then you start looking for these pieces and go around the house. Try not to talk the whole time. And look for these 10 pieces. Gather them together. Look for pieces. You should have cleaned your house beforehand so you don't have any chametz in your house. And after you finish this bedikat chametz ritual, you put all the pieces together, and you make what's called a bittul. You negate all the chametz. You say, any chametz that I have, that I know about, it's not mine. I don't want to have anything to do with it. So you have just checked for the chametz, looked for it, and now you have made a bittul, called a bittul. You negated all the chametz that you have, negated it all. And then the next day in the morning, before the time it's forbidden to, let's say 7 hours before Passover comes in, you burn it. You burn the chametz. And then you burn it. And before you do this burning, you should have, even before you do the check-in, you should have sold the chametz, go to the rabbi and sell any chametz that you want to receive back after Passover. You have a nice bottle of whiskey, sell it. Don't leave it in your possession. You have to sell it, put it in a special cabinet, lock it up with all the other chametz things, and sell it. So, okay, again, you check your house, you do bedikat chametz. Then you go to the rabbi and you sell all the chametz you want to get back after Passover. And you also made a bittul, you negated the chametz. And then in the morning you burn the chametz that you don't want. And then you make another bittul. Then you say all the chametz that I don't know about, whether I do or don't know about it, it's not existence. I don't want anything to do with it. If you leave your house 30 days, less than 30 days before Passover, you have to make the check. You have to go through this whole ritual, make this whole check less than 30 days before. If you leave before 30 days, then you have to pick somebody, choose somebody to do the check for you and find it. Well, wherever you are before this time comes in, no matter where you are, if you have chametz in Alaska and you happen to be in Peru, then you have to make a bittul wherever you are. Say, all the chametz that I have is not mine, because it's very, very severe sin for a Jew to possess chametz, own chametz. You have shares in a beer factory, ask a rabbi what to do. And sell your chametz wherever you are if there's anything you want to get back, because you should not possess any chametz before the Passover comes in. You're not allowed to get pleasure from it, and you're not allowed to eat it. Just incidentally, the 11th day of Nisan, the 11th day of Nisan is the Lubavitcher Rebbe's birthday, which we'll talk about, God willing, in the next class.